money and I got done it. I called my baby late last night. She told me, Daddy, everything was alright. I don't have to worry 'cause she's real fine. I know my baby, she's all mine. Give me a Cadillac, a diamond ring. She told me, Daddy, don't you worry about a thing. She's all mine and I'm so glad. She's the best woman I ever had.
Welcome to Red Onion Podcast. That song you just heard right there was by a guy named Little Miette, and the name of the song is Rich Woman. Little Miette's real name is McKinley James Miette. He's a rhythm and blues singer, pianist from New Orleans. He recorded for Specialty Records in 1955 through 1956. He was born on October 25th, 1935. He died June 29th, 1997. Miette's song, 1956 song, Rock Around the Clock, is the same song that Bill Haley and the Comets that made very popular. So Red Onion Podcast, we'll be doing this every week. You can visit us at redonionent.com. You can get us on Facebook, Red Onion Entertainment. And you can get us on Twitter at Red Onion ENTTERT1. All right, so some of the things we're going to talk about on the podcast today, we're going to talk about this weekend's festivals around Louisiana. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to also talk about some birthdays of some Louisiana artists. We're going to talk about a couple of record releases by some Louisiana artists. We're also going to spotlight Amadi Audron, a Creole musician. And we're also going to bring the sauce to you. We're going to talk a little bit about Louisiana Creole cuisine. All right, so started off right now, we're going to talk about some festivals. And there's a few festivals this weekend in the state of Louisiana. We got the Holy Rosary Catholic Church Fair in Santa Monica, Louisiana. It's 3 days of music with food. They got carnivals. And That 70s Band's playing at 5 p.m. on November 2nd, next Saturday. Don't forget that LSU is off this weekend. They got an open date. So no LSU. And I think the Saints are off this weekend also. So you might want to check that out. You can check these festivals out. Our next festival is the Louisiana Pecan Festival in Colfax, Louisiana. That's this north, I think, west of Alexandria, in the middle, right there in the middle of the state. The Louisiana Pecan Festival started in 1969. It's been around for all 50 years. So you might want to go check that out. So they got cooking contests, they got children's events, they got the midway, they got music. So Friday's music lineup is Avery Michaels starting at 3:30. Then we have Johnny Earthquake and the Moondogs starting at 7 o'clock. Talk about a good band. That's a big horn band. You might want to check them out. That's a big show band. Then Saturday they got Rusty Yates Band starting at 1 o'clock. Rusty is from the Baton Rouge area and a very soulful singer and a very good singer and a good band. He always puts good musicians together. You need to check that out. Then Jambox Band plays at 5 p.m. and then they got fireworks at 8:30. Then Sunday at the Pecan Festival in Colfax, they got the Sundown Band starting at 12:30. All right. So the next fair we have the Sabine Free State Fair in Manny, Louisiana. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but I don't see any information on those guys. I looked for it. I just couldn't find anything, but it's right there in Manny, just west of Alexandria, the Sabine Free State Fair. Then the next fair we have, festival, is the State Fair of Louisiana. They have two of them. They got one in Baton Rouge, right there on Highway 61, and then they got one in Shreveport, right there in downtown Shreveport. They got concerts, food, carnival, midway. They got entertainment every night. They got arts and crafts. They got educational programs for kids, game shows, a lot of good stuff out there. The Louisiana Swine Festival is in Basile, Louisiana. This festival is just northeast of Lake Charles, about an hour, right down Highway 90, just west of Eunice. You might want to check that out. Their band schedule. They got let's see. Clay Cormier and the Highway Boys starting at 6 o'clock on Friday, November 1st, and they got Todd Artico. And then Saturday, they got the Perfect Good Airplane Band starting at 12 p.m., J.C. Melanson and the Bayou Rock Band starting at 3:30, and then they got Alphonse and the Zydeco Kings starting at 6 p.m., and then they got Dustin Sagne and the Wanted starting at 9 p.m. Real good lineup that day. Then Sunday, they got Donnie Broussard and the Louisiana Stars. Then they got the boss, Mr. Keith Frank, Keith Frank and the Swallow Zydeco Band. If you ever need to go, you need to go see Keith. He has some great hits out there, good songs, and just all around good guy and a real great musician. And then the last festival we have is the Ponchatoula Antique Trades Days and Crafts Fair. This is in Ponchatoula, Louisiana, about an hour from east of Baton Rouge. And, Ponchatoula is known as America's Antique City. And they got handcraft items there. They got collectible shops. They got the specialty shops. They got all around good stuff. That's this Friday through Sunday. And they also do it again on March 6th through the 8th in 2020. The Ponchatoula Antique Trade Days and Crafts Fair. All right, so we're going to move on to some record releases now. Our record releases, we've got a few of them. So the first one is, we got Red Anthony Glimar. He's from Gonzales, Louisiana. He spent about 10 years in Nashville, and he played down there. He played at a place called Bluesers, and he also did a lot of writing, and all that work. He's been working his butt off to write, and you know what? He's got a country music sister duo, Presley and Taylor's new single, "Where You Belong." He co-wrote that song, and the official release was this past week. So you need to go check out Presley and Taylor's new single, "Where You Belong." Very great, very good tune. Rhett really did a great job. So that came out this week. You need to go check that out. The next record release we have is John Batiste. He's a cat from New Orleans. He travels the world. He's a great ambassador to New Orleans. Live at the Vanguard. You need to go check that out. And then you got Mike Zito and Friends, Rock and Roll. Mike Zito is from Port Arthur, but he's played with a lot of bands in Louisiana. And I used to book him at a place I used to work. And he's got a new record called A Tribute to Chuck Berry. And I tell you what, he's a guitar player. He can really play the guitar. And he's got a great voice. So you need to check that out. That's coming out this week also. The Nutty Professor is a band out of New Orleans, outfit out of New Orleans. They're very good. And they got a band called Everyday Shredder. You need to check that out. All right. Then the next thing we're going to go to some birthdays. So some birthdays from some Louisiana musicians. November 3rd, we got John Butte. He's a singer-songwriter from New Orleans. He was born November 3rd, 1958. Very accomplished songwriter, singer. Really need to check him out. The next one we have is Al Hurt, November 7th, 1922. That's when he was born. Al Hurt's a trumpeter, and he was known all over New Orleans. He traveled the world also. I mean, there's so many great New Orleans musicians that travel the world, spreading that Louisiana music. And I got to meet him one time at a friend of mine's studio, and really enjoyed my time with him. Really good. You need to check him out. Al Hurt, trumpeter. He was born November 7, 1922. Alvin Baptiste, he's a clarinetist and a composer, born November 7, 1932. He, I think, was the band director at Southern University for a while, and he's a very accomplished. I think he passed away a couple of years ago, but Alvin Baptiste, very, very, very respected clarinetist. And then we have Little Bob and the Lollipops. He had a song. He was born November 7th, also 1937. He's from Orneville, and I tell you what, he had a song called "Got Loaded." And if you from Louisiana and you go see bands play around, everybody plays that song, "Got Loaded" by Little Bob and the Lollipops. And then our last birthday, we got Johnny Rivers. Johnny Rivers is I'm not quite sure where he was born, but I knew he went to Baton Rouge High School, and then he went to New York. He moved to New York. He was born in 1952, 1957. He also has a lot of hits, pop hits. Secret Agent Man's one of them. So you need to go check him out also. He's very good. Our artist spotlight today is a guy named Amédée Orgeron. Amédée Orgeron was born March 11th, 1898 in Basile, Louisiana. That's in Evangeline Parish. He died November 3rd, 1942 in Pineville. So he is this guy is a Louisiana Creole musician known for his high singing voice and his Cajun accordion. He was an African American, and he is the one that laid the groundwork for Creole music in the early 20th century and wrote several songs now regarded as Zydeco standards. So this guy is very important to the state of Louisiana and Zydeco and Creole music. Like I said, he was born in Basile. He's a descendant of free and captive people. Amédée spoke only French, did not speak English, as did most of the people in that area. He developed his musical talents and preference to undertaking form work. He played at dances, often at Cajun with Cajun audiences, also with fiddle players like Alphonse Lafleur. He had Douglas Bernard. He moved around the area frequently, and he settled. And then he met this guy named Dennis McGee. Dennis McGee was a Cajun fiddler, a white guy, and they become a partnership, and they started playing all these house parties, attended this house parties, and they did dances, and they were all over that part of the country, Louisiana, and it was just great that you had an African American and a white guy doing house parties. I just think that is awesome, especially during that time. They were the first ones to record the music of the Acadian region. So they were the first ones in 1929. They started recording 6 songs for Columbia Records in New Orleans. So that's a long time ago in early times. At that same time, you had a guy named Leadbelly from Mordensport, Louisiana, which is northwest of Shreveport. He was doing some stuff, and he was actually in Angola for a while. And he played a 12-string guitar, and he's regarded as one of the early influences of folk music from Louisiana. And then you had a guy from Mississippi named Robert Johnson that was playing a 6-string acoustic guitar, and everybody from around the world, guitar player-wise, Eric Clapton, Mark Knopfler, all these guys call him an influence. So at the same time, you had Amédée and McGee recording in 1929, doing their brand of music and doing their brand of Creole and and Cajun, and then doing this, this, I guess it wasn't called Zydeco at the time, but it was the beginnings of Zydeco, and the Zydecos also have some Caribbean feel to it also in some of their beats and all that. So this is a melting pot of things that was going on with Amity, and that's why I think, in my mind, that he needs to be more. He needs to be regarded more as an early influencer in American music, the form of Cajun, Zydeco, and Creole. So let's see. We'll talk a little bit more about his death, which was not a good thing. His final cause of death is really uncertain. Family members and musicians that knew him tell a story that it was racially motivated, which is so sad. There was an attack on him, and he was severely beaten one night in 1939, and while he was walking home from playing a house dance near Eunice. And the story goes that men were angered when a white woman at the house party lent her handkerchief to Amity to wipe his sweat off his face, and then on his way home he got beaten, which I think is very, very, very bad. And hopefully this kind of stuff will not happen again. So when he got beaten in 1939, he left the place and he ran over into a Model A car back in those days, and he crushed his head. They crushed his head and throat, damaging his vocal cords. He was found the next day lying in a ditch. According to Fontenot, he went plump crazy and didn't know if he was hungry or not. Sad, very sad. Others had to feed him. He got weaker and weaker until he died. Others considered the story bad, and others' versions of other ones was poisoned, not beaten, possibly by a jealous fellow musician. We don't know. All we know is that he died of a bad death, and hopefully one day we would know. He did die in Pineville at the hospital there, and in 1944. So now we're going to talk about the sauce. The sauce. So the sauce is going to be a little segment that we do on here, and we just talk about Louisiana food. We might do some in the future. We might do some menus. Some recipes. Put them on the website. Put them on Facebook, and then share them out to you guys. Today's the sauce. Today's sauce is going to be Louisiana Creole cuisine. We're going off of Mr. Amity being the first guy to kind of put this music together. So we're just going to kind of just go right into that and just kind of go Creole cuisine. So Creole cuisine revolves around a bunch of influences from around the world, much like Spanish, French, West African, Haitian, German, Italian. All these influences fed into the Creole cuisine. And so it really started back in the early 1700s. 1718 is where we think the Creole cooking kind of dates back to, and it just kept on going. So one of the recipes that came out of this is oyster Rockefeller, and probably you guys have ate oyster Rockefeller, and I just want to give you a little history about how it came about. I'm going to give a little bit about what it is right now. It consists of oysters on the half shell that have been topped with rich butter sauce, parsley, and other green herbs, and breadcrumbs. And it's either baked or broiled with a lemon wedge for garnish. You talk about great. And if you've ever been down in New Orleans, I've been to the Acme Oyster House or Drago's. They got some great oyster Rockefellers. You need to go check it out. So this term was created at a a restaurant at Antoine's. Antoine's right in the heart of New Orleans, and the son of Antoine brought it to him, and he was just trying to come up with a recipe. So it's never been changed since then. So back in 1937, Franklin Roosevelt actually ate Oscar Rockefeller at Antoine's in 1937, and the mayor of New Orleans commented to Roosevelt, "How you like dem DEM oysters?" And then after that, Oscar Rockefeller went big. This dish was named after John D. Rockefeller, one of the titans of that time, along with J.P. Morgan, Carnegie, all those guys from that era. So they named it Oysters Rockefeller, and that's how it came from, New Orleans, out of New Orleans. Another dish that we have that's very big to Creoles and myself. I try to eat red beans every chance I get, and especially on Mondays. Red Bean Monday is a big thing in New Orleans, and I try to do that as much as I can. Wherever I'm at, if I'm in Louisiana, I try to look for red beans, and I like to see how they taste compared to the other ones, and they're Creoles. So red beans, is a common dish down there, down in Louisiana. It's cooked all over, like I said, in New Orleans and Louisiana. It arrived with the white French Creoles from Haiti, excuse me. They escaped to Haiti during the slave uprising and settled in New Orleans. It's a wonderful stew of red beans and a strong Caribbean influence. So you need to check some red beans and rice, and you probably have. And if you're from out of town, when you come down, you need to go check out some oysters, Rockefeller, and some red beans and rice. That's the thing. Get you a little side of cornbread to go with that red beans and rice also. You can just put it in there. It's real good. I promise you. So our outro song, a song today that we're going to leave you with is Bernadette C'est Ma Tib Creole. I hope I said that right. By Keith Frank. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you next week.